Hey, welcome back to Speak English Like a Pro. It's really good to have you here because today we're going to go even deeper into what real English means. Not the kind of English found in grammar books or spoken in slow motion by an instructor at the front of a classroom, but the kind of English that breathes and laughs and interrupts itself, the English that spills out of people when they're late, excited, angry, surprised, tired, or just being themselves. You know, for so long, we've been conditioned to think of English as this tidy little puzzle where each sentence fits perfectly together and nothing is out of place. But that's not how people talk. Not at all. Real English is often incomplete, full of pauses, repetitions, and strange turns of phrase that don't make sense unless you've actually lived with the language. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Because if you want to speak English like a pro, you have to let go of perfection and dive into reality. Think about the last time you watched a TV show in English, especially something unscripted like a reality show or a casual vlog. You probably noticed how different the language sounded compared to your English textbook. People didn't say, I would like to purchase a bottle of water. They said, Hey, you got any water? Or I'm dying. I need a drink. It's quick, it's emotional, it's messy, and it's beautiful. That's the English that surrounds you when you're living in an English speaking environment. That's the English people actually use. Real English is all about function. It's not about how correct something sounds, it's about whether the other person understands you and whether the moment feels real. Language is like a bridge between two people. If the bridge gets you across, even if it's made of rope and wood and a few squeaky boards, then it's doing its job. You don't need marble and gold. You need something that works. A huge part of this is intonation and rhythm. If you just read words off a page, you might sound flat. But in conversation, the rise and fall of your voice tells the listener whether you're asking a question, making a joke, or being sarcastic. For example, say the sentence, Oh, really, right, with a flat tone, and it sounds neutral. Say it with a rising tone, and it sounds curious. Say it with a smirk and a dip in your voice, and now it sounds sarcastic. That's real English. Not just words, but emotion carried in sound. And that's why you can't just learn English from books. You need to hear it, a lot of it. You need to hear how friends tease each other, how coworkers vent after meetings, how teenagers text each other, how parents scold their kids, how someone flirts, or how someone ends a conversation when they're clearly done but being polite. It's all in the sound, and the more you hear it, the more you'll start to feel it. One of my favorite things to do is watch videos where native speakers are just being themselves. They're not teaching anything, they're just talking. A food review, a day in the life vlog, a podcast where friends talk about their weekend. You'll notice how they overlap each other's sentences, how they change subjects mid thought, how they laugh at their own mistakes. You'll hear someone say, So I was like, wait, no, hold up. That's not what I meant. And you'll realize that real English isn't linear. It bounces around, it flows, it adapts. That adaptability is key. Real conversations are full of little detours. You start saying one thing, then switch gears because you remembered something else. Native speakers do this constantly. I went to, no, actually, before that, we stopped by his place real quick. The grammar isn't perfect, but it makes perfect sense to someone who's used to hearing English in action. Now let's talk about vocabulary. Real English uses everyday words in creative ways. You might learn the word crazy and think it only means mentally unstable. But in real life, people say things like, that party was crazy, meaning it was fun or wild. Or, she's crazy good at singing, which means she's extremely talented. Words stretch and change depending on how people feel. And sometimes people just make up words or mash them together. Hangry is a great example. Hungry plus angry. Adulting means doing grown up responsibilities. This kind of playfulness is part of real language. It shows that people don't just follow the rules, they bend them, shape them, and make them their own. This brings me to another point: confidence. If you want to speak real English, you need to stop waiting until you know enough. You already know more than you think. The only way to sound natural is to practice speaking naturally. Not perfectly, just naturally. Talk to yourself. Record your voice. Read conversations out loud. Find someone to chat with online. The more you do this, the more your brain gets used to the rhythm of real speech. Don't be afraid of silence or mistakes. In fact, those are part of real conversations too. People pause to think. They forget words. They say, like, you know, that's not bad English. That's just human English. Your goal isn't to be flawless, it's to be fluent. And fluency comes from comfort, not correctness. Also, pay attention to how people respond in conversations. Real English often involves a lot of little reactions. Totally. Right? I know, right? Exactly. No way. Seriously? These short responses show you're listening and engaged, and they're incredibly useful when you're not sure what to say. Instead of feeling pressure to give a long answer, sometimes just saying, oh, wow, that's wild, is enough to keep the conversation going. Another thing you'll notice in real English is that people often talk in metaphors or exaggerations. If someone says, I'm dying of laughter, they're not literally dying. They're just laughing a lot. If they say, I've told you a million times, they don't mean exactly 1 million. It's just a way of adding emotion to the story. So when you hear someone say, this coffee is life, they're not giving you a biology lesson. They just really like their coffee. Let's talk about texting and social media for a second. Real English shows up there too. People shorten words, use emojis, write in all caps, add extra letters to show excitement. So good. Can't wait. LOL, OMG, TBH, IDK. These are all part of the way people express themselves now. It's not formal, but it's very real. If you want to sound natural, it helps to understand this kind of digital language too. And yes, slang. Slang changes all the time. What's cool today might be outdated next year, but don't worry about memorizing everything. Just focus on the expressions you hear often, especially if you watch content from your favorite creators or shows. The more you hear them in context, the more they'll stick. And remember, it's okay if you don't use every new slang word perfectly. Even native speakers mess that up sometimes. Cultural understanding also plays a huge role in real English. Language doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's tied to values, humor, customs, and history. For example, Americans often use sarcasm and exaggeration in jokes. British speakers might be more indirect or dry in their humor. Australians might use casual nicknames for everything. Understanding these patterns can help you avoid confusion and connect more easily with native speakers, but most importantly, real English is yours to shape. You don't have to sound like anyone else. You just have to sound like you in English. That means using the words you feel comfortable with, the expressions you've picked up along the way, and the tone that feels natural to you. If you like storytelling, then tell stories. If you like asking questions, be curious. If you like humor, bring that into your conversations. Your English should reflect your personality. And don't forget the emotional side of things. Real English isn't just for talking about the weather or ordering food. It's for comforting a friend, expressing gratitude, sharing dreams, telling someone you miss them, apologizing, saying no without being rude, standing up for yourself, laughing until you cry. These are all moments that require emotional vocabulary. Phrases like, that means a lot to me, or I'm here for you, or I messed up and I'm sorry. These are just as important as grammar rules. So, if you're ready to level up, start paying attention to the world around you. Listen with curiosity. Speak with courage. Let go of the idea that there's only one correct way to say something. Language is about people, and people are complex, messy, beautiful beings. Real English reflects that. It's flexible, it's expressive, it's imperfect, and it's powerful. Thanks for being here today. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep speaking. You've got this. And remember, learn English the easy way with Speak English Like a Pro.